What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the trading world. Today is September 15th, 2025. It was a No News Monday. We're going to be diving into the charts, looking at all kinds of different trades you could have taken today. If you guys like the content, definitely consider leaving a like, subscribing, following me on X, and also checking out my completely free Discord. The link to that is in my bio. So, let's talk about first the higher time frame going into the day. We got a daily candle body closure above all-time highs going into last week, and on the weekly, same thing. So market going into this week was already leaning bullish, and then what happened? Overnight, we ended up sweeping out Asia's lows. Check this out. We sweep out Asia's lows. Bang. This is Asia. Let me prove it to you real quick. Right? Asia low got swept. We can actually take a look at an image of this right here. And so what happens if overnight, I'm going to let you guys actually tell me first what happens. If London sweeps Asia's lows, what does that mean? Right? What kind of daily profile is that? It's London reversal, New York continuation, meaning New York is going to continue the same way that London reversed. So we sweep Asia low, we reverse in London, and then New York continues the same direction, right? So basically, if we push into a key level during London and we sweep Asia, then New York's going to continue that same direction, right? It's a high probability daily profile. It's probably the most common daily profile, if I had to guess. But yeah, we sweep out all these lows, get an SMT with this low right here, and this wasn't an obvious 1 hour for value gap, but I still marked it out as a gap, and then 5-minute change of state, and then we expand up off of it. And as far as actual trades go for the day, I think actual trades for the day was kind of hard because I say in my tweet today, right here, let me switch to the other screen. I say in my tweet, no trades for me today. Nothing obvious enough. We had one-sided expansion at all-time highs with low time frame action not looking that clean. So maybe there were small opportunities, but nothing obvious that I saw. And so that being said, I do take back that there was no opportunity because I think with knowing the daily profile, you honestly could have just taken this 1 hour inversion for value gap. And I know that sounds so stupidly easy, but guys, accumulation, manipulation into a higher time frame PD array, which was this 4 hour or 1 hour gap, whichever you want to call it. I'm calling it a 1 hour gap, and I'm basically treating this whole entire range as the gap. And so I'm going from this wick to this wick. So 1 hour gap. Accumulation, manipulation of Asia's lows, and then an amazing inversion for value gap on the 1 hour chart. And I know it's super simple, but sometimes simple pays the bills, guys. Right? 1 hour inversion for value gap on the higher time frame chart. We end up getting this. I did not see this, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have definitely liked to have used this for bias. But the reason this inversion for value gap is so good on the higher time frame is because we obviously swept Asia's lows, meaning New York is probably going to continue. So we definitely could have used this for bias, and the way you take this is like this. That's like 2.5 to 1, guys. Beautiful trade. 1 hour inversion for value gap. Then as far as the lower time frame goes, right? It was kind of tricky because, as I said in my tweet, even though we kind of knew the bias because we swept out Asia into a gap, even though we kind of knew the bias. And by the way, guys, initially going into the morning, I actually kind of thought that we were going to go lower because we had swept out these highs. But I want to talk about why that was wrong real quick, right? Why was it wrong to think that we were going to go lower? Because of higher time frame context, right? The way that we were breaking old highs with displacement over and over again, right? Look at the 4 hour chart here. Does the 4 hour chart look like it's about to go lower? No, it looks like this 4 hour gap is going to get held. Very clearly looks like it, right? We have very obvious displacement. the weekly chart literally broke the weekly swing high. So we're aggressively expanding. Not to mention, we had all these low resistance highs above that we ran through. So there was no reason to expect lower prices, just based off the higher time frame context, and that's something that we will keep getting better at with time. But like I said, 4 hour for value gap accumulation, equal highs, by the way, very obvious equal highs, and then like I was saying, on the lower time frame, it gets kind of tricky because I zoom in here, and and here's 8:30. This is when I get on the charts for my live trading window. There's nothing super obvious, right? There's no textbook inversion for value gap, no textbook flow state. It just kind of moves up. There was the one thing that someone did take that I personally didn't take because it wasn't obvious. AMD, right? What do I mean by AMD? Well, you want to see, this is exactly what I mean by AMD, right? You want to see a giant range, manipulation of the lows or the highs of that range, and then distribution to the opposite side of that range. All the way up here, we did not have that, right? That's kind of my point. But we did have this, which was the first presented for value gap right here, that ended up getting inversed, and someone told me they took this, and it's okay. I'm not going to say it's bad because obviously it worked out. Higher time frame was extremely bullish, which is why it ended up working out. But personally, I did not take it because I always want to see AMD. So this didn't make sense to me, but this was the first presented for value gap, and it did get inversed. But once again, guys, nothing super obvious for me. And you could have taken this. Maybe you took this on a retest. That's cool. Personally, that's just not obvious enough for me to take. But it's always good to see these good inversion for value gaps working out. Something that I thought was really cool about earlier in the morning. Once again, guys, the reason I'm not talking about more price action in here is there's just nothing super obvious, right? All through here, I was saying the same exact thing. Nothing obvious. The only thing maybe was we had a 5-minute fair value gap here. 5-minute fair value gap. And this aligns with the 30-second, right? So 5-minute gap, 30-second change in state. Once again, the bias is bullish. So that was the key, right? You can't be framing sell models because we're expanding on the higher time frame. But the one thing was maybe we had this 5-minute, 30-second model, and clearly we end up going to that fourth standard deviation here perfectly. But one thing I will say about this as a lower time frame model is we're just super deep in premium, right? We're super deep in premium, so it's it ended up playing out, but was it high probability? I'm not super sure that it was, right? Because we were so far in premium. Then again, though, look at this buy model, right? We have our 5-minute key level, right? Our 5-minute fair value gap, and then a 30-second change in state. And then look at how we go perfectly from the change in state to the fourth standard deviation. It's like crazy because it's like these markets, like these models are built into the markets. This is, they move to run to do market maker models, right? So you enter on the retest of that 30-second change in state, stop at the low, and then target that fourth. But once again, guys, was this something super obvious that I would prefer to take? Not really. And once again, for the most part, we're just expanding higher. Oh, something cool about this, guys. Something cool about this in the morning was this was an amazing quarterly theory opportunity. Check this out. So from 7:30 Oh, and then there was a Phoenix model at the very bottom of the day, which is kind of cool. I'll show you that at the end. From 7:30 till 9, here's one quarterly theory quarter, right? This can be split up into quarters. 7:52. Check this out, guys. This is so sick. 7:52, 8:15, and then whoops, and then I think it's what would it be? 8:37 or something like that. Okay, so now you see these quarters, right? So we first find the true open. Here's the true open of this quarter. So this is 7:52. So this is a 22-minute true open. Check this out. 22-minute true open. And then we end up getting S&T between quarters 3 and quarters 4. Right? Boom and boom. So what is that? That's 22-minute S&T. And then that marked the low, right? Crazy how that, how that perfectly works out, right? And, I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't think that it worked, because it obviously does, right? 7:52, we get the S&T below it. So this is a confluence for manipulation, and then we expand up higher off of this. Pretty cool, right? 22-minute S&T manipulation. Then here's a change in state, and we go higher off of this. Kind of cool. So that was something that I thought was worth showing. Accumulation, manipulation, change state delivery retest. Then we continue and expand. The last thing I want to talk about, once again, guys, I really am trying to go through obvious trades that are simple, that are low RR, but I don't think that there was really any. That's why I didn't take any trades today. Maybe you could consider taking this 3-minute. But once again, guys, this is not... We're just super farm premium, so... Yeah, I guess this was a 4-minute inversion for value gap. So maybe you could have taken this. We sweep out the low. So if there was a realistic trade you could have taken, it could have been this. But once again, guys, I'm not in love personally with just taking any trades today. I think there wasn't anything obvious enough. But you know what? That was a 4-minute inversion. Maybe you could have taken that. But anyway, continuing on, the last thing I want to talk about is what's kind of cool. Is remember how I said we ended up getting S&T with this low? Well, what is this? What's at the low of the S&T, right? A 1-minute rejection block. So here's the S&T. This is S&T. A rejection block that comes with S&T, what is that? That's Phoenix model, right? So this rejection block is going to be very sensitive, especially because it swept out this entire range of lows here. So 1-minute rejection block. And check this out, guys. Look at how perfectly we tap consequent encroachment, right? Perfectly tap consequent encroachment. Does that look random, guys? Perfectly tap consequent encroachment. No way. It's not random, right? I mean, this just gets me hyped up. I don't know. You guys, look at that precision, right? We perfectly tap consequent encroachment. Maybe you even want to measure it out like that. But yeah, anyway, this is a high probability rejection block because we swept out, all the lows over here. And yeah, from there, I just want to show that was Phoenix model, and then we go the opposite side of the range. But yeah, the main issue today, guys, is we expanded very one-sidedly. I didn't see anything super obvious, but I still think that it was worth making a video on today, even with it being a No News Monday. So, yeah, yeah, and then the rest of the day, nothing obvious, just kind of chop. Oh, there was a trade from Amos. Amos took this as A, accumulation. I'm starting to understand Amos's trades better. Basically, he takes a flow state, but he doesn't use a higher time frame key level. He just looks for a liquidity sweep and then an order block. Right? That's how Amos does his trades. Amos just does a liquidity sweep and an order block. And then he gets in line with AMD. And so I'm going to show you this exact trade from Amos here. But I think it's important to learn from other people, right? So, to be on the screen. So this is Amos's style. Whoop, that was too far down. Here it is. So we swept out the highs. Accumulation, manipulation of the high. Here's an order block. It's a series of up close candles. We close below them, push up into it, and then yeah, he enters on the once we tap it a second time. Once we tap the order block a second time and create a fair value gap, that's when he enters, and then he just scalps 1-to-1. So let me go back to my other screen, right? So he sees the order block, sees how we react off of it, create a fair value gap, and he enters on the fair value gap and just targets 1-to-1. So just thought I'd show a trade from someone else, but yeah, I think that about covers it. One day at a time, guys. Let's just keep going one day at a time. And yeah, with that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Let's make it big. Peace out.